I've been to my own IEP meetings.
You've been to your own IEP meetings?
With Mom.
Yeah. What did you think of that experience?
Well, part of it was the food. My name is Will McMillan. I am 37 years old, and I am talking about the importance of having a reading clinic for those who will love to get back into reading. So book club I have done for several years. We're currently reading a book, Percy Jackson and the Olympians. And it's actually The Lightning Thief. And I just think that if you're not reading, you're not going to get your education. And I went to Next Steps at Vanderbilt, and I got to go to different classes. And reading is definitely one of them, because that's part of your homework to understand the history of what reading really meant. You're learning a little bit more about the people that have been in history. When I was growing up, I was at the reading clinic at Vanderbilt, and I don't know how many teachers I've had through that, but they've helped me learn to get my words out by reading. I believe that my mom was kind of saying that they're going to change it to something else, and I was a little disappointed why they would do that. And I think that right now we do need to have more reading clinics so people can get back to reading and speak up for themselves and for other people, but mainly for themselves. And I know it's hard to do that. And I think that the statement that I have is more of, when we lose our sense of reading, we're losing our inner voice. And if you're not reading, you're losing that ability. That's part of who you are. That's what you grew up with. And that's why a reading clinic could really help in the community as well as in school. I think by hearing that, it feels like they're shutting the voices.
Hi, my name is Sarah Schaefer, and I'm mom to Sawyer Schaefer. He is 13 and has both Down syndrome and autism. He's a good kid, and he's very smart, but he still has exceptional needs. My biggest concern for him right now is his right to a free and appropriate public education. The idea of the federal government dismantling the Department of Education and putting the responsibility of the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, IDEA, on the state level has me anxious about Sawyer's future. The IDEA and Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act allow children with disabilities to attend their local public school, just as any other kid has that right. If the Office of Civil Rights is not able to work with the Department of Education, how can we be sure that the hard-fought rights for those individuals with disabilities will be upheld? The plan now is to put the burden of upholding these laws to the state. I find this concerning, as the state will need to have adequate funding, resources, and staff able to provide these civil rights to our children with disabilities and to enforce these laws. Some will say that we should homeschool our children. That's just not fair. I'm not trained as a teacher, much less as a special education teacher. I do not feel qualified to teach Sawyer any academics or other skills he may learn at school. He also needs socialization with kids, both with disabilities and without. I don't have the training to work on teaching him behavior skills either. School vouchers in Tennessee are also unfair to our children. Private schools are not required by law to even accept children with disabilities, much less provide special education services through IDEA. There are also few private schools in rural areas, which accounts for a large portion of the state's population. Why would I drive an hour into Nashville to a private school that does not provide services to my child? What happens to the public schools in my area as the state uses funds to funnel families into private schools instead of fully funding public schools? Both the federal and state Department of Education is very important to my family and many, many other families I know. We need special education. We need the 504 plan. Without it, our children fall through the cracks, lose all of their civil rights, and become a burden on society. Education helps prepare our children for the real world as adults, where they are active participants of society. Don't let the civil rights of our children disappear. Civil rights are human rights, and our children are humans, just like your children.
My name is Amelia Platty, and I live in Lebanon, Tennessee. Originally from Michigan, my husband Jeff and I moved to Tennessee in 2015. We have 6 children, ages 22 to 6. This is our 11-year-old daughter, Penelope, also known as Penny, and she has Down syndrome. Penny loves her family, summer camp, dancing, church, and school. Our educational journey has had some barriers we've run into, such as assumptions and lowered expectations, especially in the last year as we transitioned from a smaller elementary school into middle school. While not always bad, our overall situation has felt frustrating and we have felt unheard. As someone said to me, typical parents don't leave their kids' school in tears. After a particularly intense IEP meeting, I mentioned to Jeff that I was tired of feeling like I was arguing my daughter's right to be there, even in the small things. Part of our desire for Penny is that she is truly and meaningfully included in her school community. True inclusion isn't just a placement or a policy. It's truly a feeling of belonging in an environment. We also want her to be challenged in school. We want the school to have expectations for her to learn material and to acquire the foundations of a step-by-step process so that she can develop critical thinking skills that can be used throughout her lifetime. For instance, learning algebra is about more than just learning algebra. While most of us don't use algebra in our everyday lives, we do use the problem-solving skills that we learn through learning algebra. We want to encourage our legislators to preserve the current provisions and protections in place for those of us dealing with the public school system, such as IDEA and FAPE, that it's important to remember the faces and the families that the protections and framework already fought for and implemented remain available to support Penny and us as her parents as we advocate not just for her education but her peers as well. Knowing we have those supports relieves some of the struggles we can face as we work and advocate to ensure a better long-term future for those with Down syndrome and other disabilities.
My name is Momina Ahmed, and my beautiful daughter name is Anissa Ahmed. Anissa is 11 years old, has Down syndrome, and she is in 6th grade in Oliver Middle School, Nashville, Tennessee. Anissa is smart, hardworking, and loving. She loves playing basketball, soccer, swimming, and singing and dancing. Also, she has done a Disney musical, Willy Wonka, Annie, Finding Nemo, Jungle Book, and The Little Mermaid, and at her school with her typical developing peers. She has a blue belt in karate. She's an extraordinary child, loved by her teachers and friends. Anissa wants to be an actor and social media influencer and wants to go to college. Suddenly, through the years, some of her teachers and others have underestimated her because she has a Down syndrome. It is always a battle with the school system for Anissa to get a proper services and support. We went through a lot of hardship at her elementary school, getting them to follow her IEP. For example, Anissa already knew her alphabet and sounds when she started at kindergarten, like her other typically developed peers. Because she has Down syndrome, they assumed that she couldn't learn, and they put her in a self-contained classroom where the kids watch TV and play puzzle. She was not taught in that class. After a long battle, she finally began attending general education classes. But in the process, my daughter missed out almost the whole year of learning in regular kindergarten classroom. It was a fight to get them to believe that she was capable of reading. It is heartbreaking that her school and teachers have had such a low expectation academically. The Down Syndrome Association of Middle Tennessee has helped me advocate for Anissa's educational right. And because of my vigilance and their help, Anissa can now read, write, and do math. Things have gotten a little better in middle school, but it is always something. Now we are having an issue with the inclusion. Unfortunately, she was excluded from school play this year in a very underhanded way. This makes me so sad for her because she loves participating in a play in elementary school. It is a challenge as a single mother, advocating for my daughter, working full-time, supporting my daughter at home. And instead of helping my daughter with her learning and skills, I had to focus so much of my time and energy fighting with the school. I hope that you will keep this concern in mind, and as you make new laws affecting all children, ensuring that our kids receive an appropriate and fair education and a full-time job of many parents, and it shouldn't be that way.
Hi, I'm Amy.
I'm Carl, and this is Johnny.
And this is Juliet, and we're the Olsons. We live in Gallatin, Tennessee, where Carl is the network admin for the school system. I work in the office at the Therapy Center of Hendersonville. Johnny is a senior this year, and Juliet is 7 years old and in first grade. Juliet has a dual diagnosis of Down syndrome and autism. She is very delayed in pretty much every development. She has a G-tube for feeding, uses a walker or an adaptive stroller for mobility, and communicates with sounds, signs, and an assistive technology program on an iPad. Basically, she doesn't eat, walk, or talk, but she's perfect and she's our joy. Yeah. Because of her development delays, we've had some situations in our CDC classroom that were nearly impossible to figure out why the behaviors were happening or what was going on. Juliet would happily go to school every morning, but several months into her first grade year, something changed. Her teacher would inform me almost daily that once Juliet got into her classroom, she said she would start crying and vomiting and sleeping. And because Juliet cannot tell me anything about her school day or anything else really, it came down to many emails with her teacher and several in-person meetings at the school to try to figure out why the dramatic change. And to a parent of a typical child, that may not seem so difficult, and that may even seem a little obsessive, to be honest, but things that affect her can be so nuanced. For example, she doesn't like foliage, indoors or outdoors, and something as simple as a plant added to a shelf or a holiday decoration brought into the classroom could send her into the behavior like I described. Things with faces like dolls or stuffed animals also freak her out, but not all of them, only certain types or kinds. And as her mom, I've memorized everything about my daughter, every little nuanced behavior. It's not as simple as just going down a checklist, though. Since I know that it is the policy of our school district not to allow special needs parents into the classroom to observe, something I have an issue with, I did not make that request. It's easy to imagine, however, that if there had been cameras in her classroom giving me access to those moments where she was melting down, it would have saved so much time, effort, and energy with the teacher emailing and her time with scheduling the meetings, not even to mention Juliet's mental health and emotional needs and stability. I also see this enhancing positive successes that our children have in the classroom at school. Sharing those moments in the IEP meetings could make all the difference in the world. To place cameras in the classrooms is extra. We know our kids are extra, and they need lots of extra attention, extra energy, and sometimes extra patience.
We adopted our daughter Clara. She was born in May of 2014. We finalized the adoption in October of the same year. We knew when she was in utero that there was about a 99% chance of having DS. The birth family asked us if we still wanted her. She still needed a mama, and she needed a daddy. We wanted to be that voice. So that yes has led us on a journey. Clara is now 11. She loves modeling for a local boutique. She has big dreams, but to fulfill those dreams, she needs an education in a safe environment. We fought a previous educator. We were not the only parents with similar issues in this classroom. We suspected emotional and verbal abuse from the teacher, but we could never prove it. We took our issues through the proper channels, to the principal, to the Board of Ed, and eventually to the State Department. Nobody could catch her. She would switch gears as soon as she caught wind that someone was on to her. The entire time we watched Clara deteriorate, her light diminished. It wasn't just us that noticed it, but it was our family, our friends, doctors, and even the community. We felt helpless. I was worried for my child and her peers in the classroom. I wished I could put a camera on my child to find out what was going on. I'm still not sure of the trauma that my child has experienced. She can't give us the full details of what's happened. The CD classroom has some of the most vulnerable students. They can't speak up for themselves. Had there have been a camera in her room, we might have avoided this situation. Thankfully, Clara has moved on to a different school. Her light has returned, but I still worry about all our kids that may be in similar situations that we had.
I did that day.
How old are you?
8.
What did you turn on your birthday? 9. On your birthday.
You are 9 years old?
I am.
My name is Janice Daniels. I go by Jan. This is my grandson, Daryl. He goes by DJ. I have lived in Nashville since 1995. After a career as a military nurse, and my husband, also in the military, we retired. We came with our beautiful daughter, Stephanie, who very sadly passed away recently, and leaving behind this jewel for my husband and I to care for. Our biggest challenges have been since we've come into the education system. DJ is a bright, loving, caring, funny as can be young man who is super smart but requires lots of challenge. If he gets startled, he will run away. We have tried everything we can think of to try and keep him safe. His doctor, actually 2 doctors, his primary care doctor and his genetic specialist, both recommended that we put a GPS tracker on him, just plain and simple. He's gotten out of school. He's gotten away even from a 1-to-1, somebody who is to be arm's length of him at all times. It's terrifying. However, despite even having that GPS device written into his IEP, we ran up against a principal who refused to let DJ wear it. First, he told me that it was a violation of HIPAA. It is not. Then he told me that it violated other students' privacy. It does not. It collects no data on anyone at all except for his actual location. But his principal decided that DJ could not wear it at school, up to and including taking his clothes off and changing him into clothes from their lost and found to remove it from his person during the day. The end result was that we removed DJ from metro schools. What I hope that my legislators understand is that DJ deserves to be kept safe. He is no less deserving of being kept safe than anyone else. And refusing to permit a small device that is only for that purpose serves no one's interest. I often wondered why he didn't, the principal, why he wouldn't be advocating for every single one of his kids who had the same concerns as DJ, who were limited verbally, who could hardly interact with others who don't understand him well, who have the potential to elope or get out. Why you wouldn't advocate for every single one of them to have a device that could keep them safe?
My name is Catherine Shagrin, and this is my story about my son, Owen. Owen was born in April 2024 after an uncomplicated pregnancy. I was lucky to be healthy and active while I was pregnant with him, and our ultrasounds always showed a growing little boy who was projected to be close in weight and height to his older brother. When Owen arrived, my husband and I had no idea about the surprise he was about to give us, and that this would be the start of a new journey for our family. Within 24 hours of his birth, he was placed in the NICU for closer monitoring as he was showing the signs of having a possible heart defect and features of Down syndrome. Genetic testing later confirmed his diagnosis of Down syndrome, and I am happy to report he is now a thriving 22-month-old who loves music, engaging with others, and cruising around our house now that he has conquered the crawling milestone. I have learned over Owen's short lifetime that a surprise birth diagnosis is not that uncommon. While we had the support from our families, friends, and the Down Syndrome Association of Middle Tennessee to help understand what our new normal might entail, I quickly had to assess the time and effort it would take to help Owen access all the care he needed to thrive. By 3 months old, he was already entered into the Tennessee Early Intervention Services program to help get a head start on the skills needed to help him develop. Along with his regular pediatrician's appointments, specialist appointments, and the processes of applying for the Katie Beckett waiver program and other programs offered to individuals with disabilities, it has been a full-time job helping manage his schedule. While I have the privilege of staying at home with Owen to grant him access to these programs, I know this is not something that can be afforded to all families. While we are a part of the lucky few who get to parent a child with Down syndrome, thousands of Tennesseans with children with disabilities rely on the support of our government to access integral programs, therapies, and information to help with their daily lives. Strong support systems help sustain strong families. However, when access to these programs relies on the sweat equity of families, sometimes investing many hours to obtain entry into these programs, the accessibility of the services suffer. I get to advocate for Owen and other families like ours because of the community of support I have, and it is a privilege to be able to do so. However, I ask that you see the time and effort it takes families to access these opportunities and how it is different from the norm. Every child with a disability in our state should be afforded these opportunities, whether their advocates have the ability and knowledge to seek out and keep up with the requirements to access these programs. We know the more we invest in children's early childhoods, the brighter their future development outcomes grow. So I ask that the social, emotional, and mental cost of these tasks is considered when understanding the families who are meant to access them. Thank you.
My name is Lauren Leone, and when I was 24 weeks pregnant, my husband and I learned that we were going to be part of the Down syndrome community through our daughter, Greer. Like many parents in that moment, we had no idea what to expect, but within hours of meeting her, we realized something simple and very important. She was no different from any other baby, and she deserved the same chance to grow and learn and belong. As native Floridians, we moved to East Nashville after the pandemic. It felt like a whim at the time. Okay. We were blown away by the resources and programs available to support Greer's growth and development. Within weeks of her birth, we were connected to TEIS, which has been instrumental in coordinating therapies and helping offset the cost of seeing specialists, sometimes as many as 5 a week. Being minutes from the DSAMT headquarters, Gigi's Playhouse, Vanderbilt's incredible rehabilitative therapists, and now Greer goes to the Susan Gray School, where she learns alongside children both with and without disabilities. It's shown us what is possible when communities choose to invest in inclusion, and we definitely don't take it for granted. But our experience has also made something very clear. Without these programs, our journey with Greer would look very different, much harder. And many families across Tennessee don't have easy access to these same resources or face strained systems marked by long waiting lists and endless paperwork. At a time when special education and disability services are being deprioritized or threatened at the national level, it's more important than ever that Tennessee chooses to lead rather than retreat. So I urge you to continue funding and strengthening these community-based programs, to expand it rather than roll back special education services, and to help shape our communities with inclusivity and accessibility in mind. These investments are not luxuries, they are lifelines, and they really make it possible for children like my daughter and families like ours to fully participate in and contribute to our communities.
I am Roya, and this is
Isaiah,
and I am a single parent of a child with Down syndrome. We live in Antioch, Tennessee with my parents and Alexander's grandparents, Gransby and Papa James. Alexander is, how old are you? 11 years old, and enjoys listening to music, playing basketball, swimming, and going to church. He is kind, funny, smart, and will try anything at least once. With Alexander, we have experienced inconsistencies in healthcare benefits coverage, from which therapies are covered, extensive wait lists, and limited access to specialized providers. We often deal with conflicting eligibility rules, redundant paperwork, and assessments. We get tired. I am blessed to have a full-time job with private insurance, and I know everyone doesn't have that opportunity. There are times when Alexander will be approved to receive health benefits via another health insurance carrier, then 6 months later, denied coverage. At one time, I decided to continue keeping Alexander on my private insurance plan because the stability of his health coverage was too unstable. I've also spoken with a benefits administrator and was given completely different information from the previous benefits administrator. I am aware that all client cases are different and complex. We are asking for additional training and more consistency for benefit administrators, caseworkers, and eligibility staff. It helps to have clear and uniform standards for our children and adults with special needs. How can Alexander and I help?
Hello, I'm Tamika Strother. This is my son, Keiston Flood. Keiston is 16 years old. He loves sports like flag football, bowling, basketball. He also participates in the choir at our church, and he loves to worship God. Keiston was diagnosed with Down syndrome at birth. As a single mother, my continuous struggle has been to financially support myself and my son. Keiston has had over 20 surgeries in the past 16 years. Keiston has had various medical conditions that have kept me from finding and maintaining employment that would support our lifestyle. I would love to not have to worry about losing our home or my car, being able to pay my mortgage on time, not deciding between am I going to pay for food or am I going to pay a bill. I would love to not worry about if I'm going to be able to maintain employment or if I'm going to get fired or be there for my son health-wise. I've resigned from positions because I've been needed to take care of Keiston. I have lost jobs because I've been absent due to his sickness or multiple health concerns or multiple doctor's appointments that have to be attended by me. I am aware of the ECF Choices program and the family caregiving support through the Katie Beckett waiver. We do not qualify for those. I would love to see family caregiving and support that can be used for people like me. Most of the programs don't allow you to pay for mortgage or car notes. So maybe being more lenient on what you can use the funds for would be more helpful for parents such as myself. Thank you for taking this time out to hear me.
Hi, my name is Callie Joe. I live in Lebanon, Tennessee with my mom. I'm an adult with Down syndrome. I will be 21 this month. I go to Cumberland University Transition Academy, graduating this May. I am learning of life skills and job skills to help me become more independent. Also, I have my own dog treat business called Downright Delicious Dog Treats. My dog's name is Jax and he loves my treats. I love dogs and journeying and working and being responsible for my business. Transportation is very important to me. It helps me get to school, work, and activities in my community. I want to be independent, work, and able to get to places like other adults on my own. Thank you for listening and caring about adults like me.
Transportation is not a convenience. It is a gateway to independence. Without it, adults with disabilities cannot go to work, cannot go to medical appointments, education programs, or community activities. In many areas of our state, there are no realistic transportation options for adults who cannot drive or safely use public transit. Disability transportation programs have long wait lists, limited coverage, and inflexible schedules that don't support real life. As a result, adults with disabilities remain dependent, not because they lack ability, but because the infrastructure does. This lack of transportation also impacts families, parents and caregivers who are forced to reduce work hours and leave jobs entirely to provide transportation. As caregivers age, this gap becomes unsustainable and unsafe. We talk a lot about independence, employment, and inclusion for adults with disabilities, but without transportation, those goals cannot be achieved. I'm asking you to recognize transportation as an essential support service by expanding funding, improving availability, reducing wait lists, and including adults with disabilities and caregivers in planning decisions. Adults with disabilities want what all adults want: to work, belong, and to live with dignity. Transportation should never be the reason they are denied that chance. Independence without transportation is not independence.